All right, salutations, everyone. This is yours truly, Finikasu Umu, and here's to hoping that y'all could put up with me ranting for about 15 plus minutes. So, what you're going to be seeing in the background is some footage of me participating in the second Battle of the Crossroads tournament, a local FGC tournament for the game Blazblue Central Fiction, hosted by Battle at the Crossroads by my good friend and homie who y'all might know from the channel already, Warrior. It's also gone by Anime Trash. It's also gone by Warrior of Mars. So many names. But he is a friend of the channel and a good friend of mine on personally. And it feels like it's been forever. I was actually checking my YouTube the other day, and if I remember correctly, the last time I posted a video was about 2 months ago. I believe before anything, y'all should know how I go about most of my videos when I record them. So I actually don't write anything usually. That should probably be obvious considering that a lot of times when I make videos, my thoughts kind of seem like they're all over the place and not always cohesive. But usually all I do is, and sometimes I do it in many, 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 many takes, even the shorts, to where I just turn the camera on. Well, I can't even really say camera. I turn on my phone and I just start recording and I just start yapping. I just start, I just start talking and pretty much whatever comes through my mind. Eventually, maybe someday I would like to get into the habit of maybe writing some of the stuff that I say, especially considering the fact that eventually I do want to do stuff like lore videos and stuff like that. It's a thing that I've enjoyed. I enjoy a lot. Um, but I just really like talking. So this is my first time making a video like this. If it seems all over the place, if it seems like it's just me ranting, it is. It's just I miss doing videos, but I've had a lot of stuff happen in my personal life, just things that I'm currently going through. And for anyone who's part of anything creative, doesn't even have to be YouTube, just really anything in general, whether it's art, writing, uh, anything that takes any type of imagination or creativity, sometimes you just can't really seem to find the motivation to do these things. And I feel like I hit that point recently. Um, Due to a number of factors, which I'm sure I'll get into eventually in this long rant. But in which any case, where have you been, Finikasu? It's been quite a while. You know, you were on a roll, and you'd be correct. Um, when I really started getting really, really into YouTube recently, for those who somewhat know the history of this channel, or those for those who don't, you know, I suppose I'll get into it here in a little bit. But YouTube's a thing that I've always played around with for a very long time. Actually, subscribe to this main channel, you actually find a lot of the different channels and a lot of different creative ventures that I tried getting into throughout the years. When I was in high school, I was really into making music, made a lot of rap and hip hop, and tried eventually delving into R&B, even though that was very short lived. I had a period of my life where I was really into battle rapping, like the more modern style, like the URL, King of the Dot, that sort of style. Um, Gaming obviously is a thing that's always sort of been a big part of my life, although not really. So gaming is a thing that I've been always real strange with. There's a lot of games that I enjoy, but I usually mostly enjoy just the lore and the stories behind it. For to get me to actually play a game, it's somewhat difficult, which is why I suppose the two games that are mostly predominant on this channel, being Hollow Knight and Final Fantasy 12 have such big places in my heart because those are two games that managed to grab my attention enough that actually made me want to complete these games. I actually got into Hollow Knight because of all the hype around Silk Song. And of course, I felt like, well, if I'm going to play Silk Song, I should probably play Hollow Knight first. And I immediately fell in love with the game. I also bought Silk Song alongside it. And after completing Hollow Knight, I can comfortably say that I started Silk Song and I played it for give or take maybe a month. And I can't really get into it like I did to Hollow Knight. I've heard from a lot of people that objectively it is a better game than Hollow Knight. Maybe there is some biasness because Hollow Knight just left that much of an impact on me. I don't know what it is, but I definitely don't have the same love for Silk Song that I do for Hollow Knight. Eventually that might change. I do intend to eventually go back and actually play the whole game. But as it currently stands, that's just where my mind is at. So where have I been? Well, when I first started being very regular on the channel, as far as like consistently uploading and stuff like that, I was unemployed at the time. And so I was like, you know what? I have nothing better to do with my time, you know, as far as having nothing but an abundance of time. I'm going to try to, go all in on the channel. And so originally what I did, it was kind of mental. When the year started, I set myself the goal of at least with shorts and some YouTube videos, a mixture of the two really. I was gonna do one video a day. And even though I don't do insane edits or nothing crazy like that, that got overwhelming very quickly. To where eventually I was like, you know what? Fuck that. And so I came up with a new different system where obviously for those who follow the channel, I'm a huge fanatic. I love D&D. And so I was like, you know what? Let's leave it up to chance. So every week I would actually roll a dice, a D7. I made a custom dice in the RPG Simple Dice app. And every Sunday or Monday, just kind of depended, I would roll a dice. And depending on what I rolled, depended on the amount of videos that I had to make every week. And I liked that system a lot at first. But then there was a week where I want to say I rolled sixes twice. And so I was like, okay, this is a lot. Then I got the new job where I'm working at currently, which has the wonderful schedule of, working 12s, which is fine. I've done plant works and, done shift work where, 12s is sometimes just the minimum, right? But it comes with the caveat that every 2 weeks it changes from day shift to night shift. So balancing between that and, family duties, having a daughter and all, my mom, friends, trying to readapt into, getting back into working and trying to, use my days off to focus on YouTube. Didn't really work out for a while. And eventually I just stopped that system altogether. And then I was just kind of went from that to like, oh, well, maybe I could do a video a week and one on the weekend, even if it's a short. And then that stopped because I have a lot of footage, a lot of back catalog. Obviously, I did complete Hollow Knight, so there's all that footage. I beat Final Fantasy 12, so there's all that footage of all the months, the hunts and the marks and stuff like that. And then slowly but surely, I should say, I started getting into different games. Uh, Obviously, one of the most prominent series that I used a lot was Fate Grand Order. And I lost two phones. And I was not able to retrieve my old Fate Grand Order account. Mind you, I think at this point, it's probably the third time that I had played Fate from the very beginning. And I just kind of gave up. I was like, look, I've already played this game caught up all the way to now we Miklan, the seventh, the final lost belt. At that point twice, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go through this again. So I just gave up on Fate Grand Order. And then to make up for it, I, obviously ventured out to the other different gacha games that I started playing. Lost Sword was one of them. Uma Musume, obviously because that was really popular at the time. And then another Eden, I think. I don't know if I actually did videos on another Eden now that I'm thinking about it. I don't think I did. I know I made posts about it, but I digress. But nothing really filled my Fate Grand Order void. FGO, for its notoriety amongst the gacha game community, I it's a great game. I don't really care to throw words like masterpiece and stuff like that around because I know usually statements like that are subjective. But nothing really filled that void for me. And so then I started finding more obscure ones, like that Victory Girls one, which I thought was funny because obviously I started. For those who don't know, I love soccer, football, whatever you call it, whatever part of the world you're from. And I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. It's waifus and soccer. What more could someone want? And then I didn't really find the motivation to continue playing the game after the last video that I did, which is crazy to think that that's actually the last video that I did on this channel. And then I started getting to a point where I started doing, like, I wanted to make content out of everything. I know I announced that I was going to do a series for not a mini series, but a shorts version of the different D&D campaigns that I've had throughout the years. The main one, obviously, being Dungeons and Dumbasses. I was gonna make shorts in which it was basically like summaries of like the episodes, recaps, if you will. That way, instead of having to listening to hours upon hours of audio, you could probably just catch up on a bunch of shorts and it just have like the key points and important characters and stuff like that. And it then occurred to me that D&D is so much more nuanced than like trying to recap a series, because like with the series, like you could just give like a general idea of like the characters and stuff like that, but with D&D there's just so much NPCs, there's just so many player characters, and just so much shit that goes on that eventually, and I might still do it, right, but eventually it just became like this insane monumental task, and I was just like, man, I don't know if I want to continue doing this. And so eventually that fell out, obviously. Um, Started helping out with Battle at the Crossroads, which I enjoy doing these events, obviously, but obviously that also takes time and energy to not just to help run the events, and put them together and whatnot, but also participate. And yeah, it's just been a lot of life changes and a lot of stuff going on. And honestly, just finding the time to, be able to do YouTube has been a thing that's been very hard to do. Um, but it sucks because I know there's like so many series that like I decide that I want to do and that like I kind of like sort of semi announce, um, like reading the WoW books. Actually, I kind of cheated on the first one, and I ended up reading or watching, I should say, listening to an audiobook version of it on YouTube that I found, and not really fully touching the other two, hardly at all. Uh, have ordered every volume at this point of Monsters We Make, and I did finish the first volume, and I was gonna do a video on it, and that never came. And I haven't found the motivation to read the other three. Well, I know one of them is still ongoing. I actually haven't received the fourth volume yet, but I mean, the point remains that it's just so many different projects that that I have in the back burner, and I tell myself, that oh, like this is gonna be next, and then this, and then while in the midst of working on one, I find another shiny object that catches my attention at the time, and I'm like, oh well, I know I told you I was gonna work on this, but there's this brand new thing, you know, like I just announced like the Pixel remaster for FF. I went on a sort of manic episode and I went ahead and bought I was able to get access to my old PlayStation account. So I was able to get FF7. I saw FF8 on sale and I was like, I'll get a Final Fantasy 8. And then I saw World Final Fantasy was on sale, so I got that. And then I bought Abzu, which is one of my favorite games for the PlayStation ever. And Final Fantasy 15, Final Fantasy Type 0. And, you know, by the time I realized it, I'm like, I've bought all these games and I've done jack shit with any of them. I started 15, I was enjoying it. Oh, and then for the mobile version, I ended up buying Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy, the first one. And it's just, again, just become this amalgamation of just getting all these things and not choosing to do any of them. So I'm not here to tell you that or to promise that, oh, that I'm going to work on all of them and every single one is, you know, I'm going to follow through on them. I might not. The purpose of this channel was always for me to, you know, just work on or do whatever I was feeling at the time and to be able to share with y'all some of the stuff that I enjoy. So if that sounds like good to you, thank you for being a part of this journey. And thanks for hearing me rant. I'll talk to y'all later and see you in the next video. Peace.